It's Monday night, and you know what that means. The Jersey First Television Network proudly brings to you the latest edition of Real Talk. And folks, Happy New Year. Happy Monday. Happy 2026. Hope you all had a wonderful Christmas and Hanukkah break, and also Festivus. And hopefully, best wishes to all of you here in the new year. And we appreciate you making this a part of your Monday night viewing here. And thank you for tuning in from wherever and however you may be doing so here, folks, live tonight here on the 5th of January here in 2026. And in case you forgot, folks, I'm the generational talent in Garden State Media and the leader in trustworthy journalism, folks. That's right. It's me, Fernando Uribe. Again, we appreciate you making this a part of your Monday night viewing here, the first episode of 2026 here on the Jersey First Television Network. And folks, if you haven't done so already, take a few seconds. Make sure you like us on Facebook. Of course, follow us on Instagram and X. Also, subscribe to us on YouTube. And if you haven't done so already, whether you get your podcast on Spotify or SoundCloud, listen to us, folks, whether it is you're out there maybe returning some gifts from the holiday season, maybe, I don't know, using your gift cards you got over the holidays, maybe you're buying gifts, whatever it is you're doing, maybe packing some clothes for your kids when they move back to campus later on this month, walking your dog, folks, plenty of things you're doing on your smartphone or your tablet, whatever it is. Make sure you check out Jersey First. Trust me, you'll never be disappointed. And yes, and Jim, I always say it, front and center here, leading the way with Jersey First TV. That's right, folks. Always educating and advocating for the residents of the great state here in New Jersey, folks. Brand new episodes of Real Talk premiere live every Monday night. Again, I'm working every week, folks. Unlike some other lazy journalists in New Jersey, I won't mention any names, not yet, at least. But live every Monday night. Check your local listings, folks, for the latest edition of Real Talk. Again, brought to you by Jersey First TV. Folks, you want to stick around for final thoughts and a special comment? I have a lot to say, really, about the great traffic in closing out 2025. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, over 865,000 views, all organic, nothing boosted on this show, folks. I can't speak for other people. But again, that number behind me is due to all of you that make this a part of your Monday night viewing, that share the replays on all of your social media. Again, without your support, folks, that number would not be possible. And of course, it's not just because of the fans that make the number possible, but of course, all the clowns in New Jersey, whether it's in higher education, whether it's in journalism and media and activism, government work, elected officials, you name it, folks. It's these clowns behind me that make that number possible. And, you know, when I think about, obviously, clowns that make this traffic possible, I think of what made it possible last year. Obviously, Ron Zentlinger from the now extinct Jersey Journal, of course, David Cruz, Uncle Dave from NJ Spotlight News, and of course, Tom Moran, who was dismissed, thankfully, last year by the Star Ledger editorial board. But unfortunately, it seems like NJ.com is still publishing nonsense from Tom Moran, and we'll cover his latest column, or lack thereof, or at least attempting to make it a column, later on during the show. Folks, you definitely want to stick around, as Tommy Boy is always good for a laugh here on Real Talk via Jersey First TV. Well, folks, again, I can't say it enough here. Again, we appreciate you tuning in here. Happy New Year to everybody. Listen, other journalists are taking a break still. I'm not. I'm working right out of the gate, ladies and gentlemen, because that's what we do on this show, folks. It's about work ethic. It's about real conversations and real traffic, because it's real talk. Let's have a real conversation tonight, folks. As we all know, obviously, it is January the 5th. And certainly just a few days ago, on January 1st, we saw an increase in the gas tax. We saw an increase in tolls on the Garden State Parkway, on the Atlantic City Expressway, on the New Jersey Turnpike. And I don't know, folks, it's another dark reminder about how unaffordable New Jersey continues to be. And certainly in just a few weeks, we'll have the inauguration of the next governor here in the state of New Jersey, former U.S. Representative Rebecca Mikey Sherrill. And listen, the last 8 years under Phil Murphy were any indication of how much we're in trouble. Who knows what we can expect from the governor-elect Mikey Sherrill in just a few weeks when she takes office. We'll see. But who better to talk about it than with one of the biggest crusaders and biggest voices in Trenton for fiscal responsibility and just fiscal sanity, folks. He's my good friend, the distinguished Assemblyman from the 40th Legislative District here in the great state of New Jersey. My good friend, folks, the Honorable Christopher DePhillips joins us live right now on Real Talk. Assemblyman, how are you?
Fernando, great to see you.
Good to see you as well. Again, congrats on
having me again. Appreciate it.
Oh, listen, Pleasure's always mine. Congrats on your re-election last November, Assemblyman. Obviously, would have been really nice to change the state to the color of my shirt, but that was not
I
to.
know I love the color, and I thought it
Thank
was
you.
appropriate you were wearing it.
I appreciate it. I'm always going to rock red on this show, but we'll get to your re-election in a minute, obviously, along with your running mate, Assemblyman Al Barless. But Chris, let's just talk guys here. We always, just keep it real in this show. But, I'm still digesting what happened a couple months ago. And, the week after the election, I had David Wallstein, the distinguished editor of the New Jersey Globe on, and he's a big fan of the show, big friend of mine. Obviously, we talk regularly. And, again, polling continues to mislead us. And I don't know, it seems like New Jersey's overrun with a lot of low information voters. I'm really still trying to figure out how Mikey Sherrill was able to not just win, but win as decisively as she did, man. What are your thoughts a couple months out now? And now that hopefully you too have been able to process this.
Yeah, it's been a process, trying to process it. It was devastating. It was a devastating night for our party statewide. I was, excited to be reelected to my 5th term in state assembly. It was not the night I expected statewide. It was shocking, the margin of victory that the governor-elect had. Granted, this is still New Jersey. There's 800,000 more Democrats than Republicans. And the cities came out in a big way that we did not expect. Jack lost by between 400,000 and 500,000 votes, which no one expected. Democrats did not expect it. Democrats were calling me on election morning saying they thought Jack was going to win. So no one saw it coming. And like you said, the polling was wrong.
And it's another reminder. And again, no diss to my alma mater, but my God, like Rutgers and the Eagleton Institute, like Jesus Christ, what are you polling these days? And it's again just a stark reminder, though, Assemblyman, that I don't know what happens when these pollsters contact people, what the polling sample is, all that other, math stuff that we have to sort of deal, the standard deviation, the polling sample, the variables, the metrics, whatever. And it just I just thought there were a lot of variables in Jack's advantage. Obviously, he looked a lot better than her in both debates, and that's not even debatable. You saw he was really, again, knocking on doors. He was in all 21 counties, literally went to every town, won the primary decisively back in June against his Republican challengers. And, some people keep telling me, well, in 2021, he came within 3 points of beating Phil Murphy. He didn't really embrace Donald Trump again. Joe Biden was immensely unpopular in 2021. And it seemed like there were just elements about the president now, the 47th president, Donald Trump, that just made him unpopular in New Jersey. And to compound the problem, too, the shutdown, which was really caused by Democrats. It's not even debatable. It was caused by Democrats at the federal level. Some of the low information voters just ate that up. And when you start putting optics out there about SNAP benefits and this and that, and it just seems like the vote blue, no matter who crowd ate that up like Thanksgiving turkey. And I think it just really propelled Sherrill to numbers that I did not expect here. Really coming out of the gate.
No one did. No one expected those numbers. And the Democrats did a good job scaring the hell out of people in New Jersey for 2 to 3 weeks before the election, sending out texts day in and day out about their SNAP benefits are going to be eliminated. ICE is going to come into your community and take your children away from you. I mean, it was a scare campaign in the last couple of weeks of the election that they waged, and it was effective, right? And I think it turned the table in the last, couple of weeks of the race, and it didn't register in any of the polling. And a lot of the data that both sides were relying upon, it didn't pick that up yet. And so, I mean, they know how to scare voters, and they came out, and the cities came out in margins that no one had seen. I mean, Paterson margin was like 55% voter turnout, which is not normal for Paterson. So it was also a beautiful day, and a lot of people came out, maybe that don't normally come out, because it was a nice day. If there had been some bad weather, that would have benefited us, because our people come out no matter what, rain, sleet, snow, on election day. So it was so upsetting and so unexpected. And Jack did, by the way, what he was supposed to do. He improved his numbers.
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
compared to 2021 by something like 150,000 votes. So again, comparing apples to apples, comparing to 2021, with that 150,000 vote increase, he would have won if you were comparing it to 2021.
No, listen, you're absolutely right, Assemblyman. And listen, I hate to Monday morning quarterback this, but again, it's what we do on these shows, and we try to examine what could have gone better. Not that I'm trying to audition as an operative anytime soon, but I always thought that, and again, this is even before the shutdown. I thought that maybe in September, October, when it's still decent weather, right? Like, for example, like first weekend of October, I took my dad to the Jets Cowboys game and it was literally 80 degrees. I'm like, wow, what an anomaly. I keep thinking back, like perhaps the NJGOP and the GOP should have tried to get the president to New Jersey to campaign for Jack. And again, just a few weeks later, with the optics of the government shutdown, again caused by Democrats, not by Republicans, I just thought to myself, damn, like that virtual call, that telephone town hall, I don't think was enough. Do you think that the president could have come to MetLife? I mean, not that the football teams there fill up the building anyway, but do you think the president could have come to MetLife or even Prudential Center? Like, remember, over the summer, he was there during a UFC event, and I mean, the place went bananas for him. Do you think maybe a live appearance by the president in New Jersey would have made a difference? Or again, were those variables in October maybe just still too big to overcome, even if he came in September or early October and packed the place out?
I don't think it would have made a difference. I witnessed, one of the town halls that the president spearheaded, and I thought it was effective, right? And I think he was all in for Jack, and Jack was all in for him. I thought Jack was very loyal to Trump, and Trump was very loyal to Jack. So I think it was a non-factor. I don't think coming to New Jersey would have made that much difference, nor would have made up the difference in the margin. I mean, the margin was so large, 500,000 votes. So, a lot of Monday morning quarterbacking. I'm not saying you're doing that, but there has been since. Some think Jack was too close to Trump, and others think he was too distant to Trump. So we're never going to resolve that issue. I think the one thing that the Democrats saw that we did not see on the Republican side was the impact of the shutdown.
Yeah.
And I think Republicans thought, and rightly so, that there's a separation between federal issues and state issues. The Democrats did a very good job of federalizing this state election.
Yeah.
And that's what they were doing nationwide. And maybe that is a reality now, that our elections, even at the state level, the county level, and even at the local level, are federalized. And if that is the battlefield, we got to deal with it, right? And we have to make the case, even at the state level for a governor's race, why we should win. And we were focusing on very discrete, concrete state issues, and no one better in the state than Jack Ciattarelli on state policy, state legislation, state law. And I mean, he hit a home run in terms of the campaign, reaching voters who cared about those issues. But the Democrats, just time and time again, were slamming Trump, and that, for whatever reason, resonated with this particular electorate.
Yeah, it really did. And it's disappointing because, and you said it perfectly, like federalizing, the same thing happened in Virginia, right? Now, obviously, Northern Virginia has an incredible amount of federal workers living there. So, I mean, that certainly played a role in that race. But here in New Jersey, it was astounding to me. I mean, I was at the New Jersey Globe debate at Rider University, where, I mean, again, as a pro wrestling fan, that looked like an old WWF house show at Madison Square Garden. I mean, it was electric. There was a vibe to that building. And you could see Jack came out and boom, boom, boom. And how interesting about that snippet about the sales tax, right? Yeah. And, now during the lame duck session, we could very well see the sales tax being raised where, it doesn't affect the new governor. And, hey, she can just be like, well, I don't know. I mean, that happened during the last administration. I got nothing to do with it. And,
yeah. I've been all over that issue. I've been all over that issue since the election. I'm the author of the bill in the state legislature to call her bluff and cut the sales tax to 6%. And that's what the people of New Jersey want, and they should expect a sales tax cut. So we'll see now if she really cares about affordability and cares about cutting costs. That's her, theme. I'm going to cut your costs. She doesn't say it with a New Jersey accent. She says it with a some, I don't know, Midwestern accent.
Well, Assemblyman, let me ask you this though. I mean, you've introduced the bill. What are you hearing from your colleagues in Trenton? I mean, will it pass committee? Do you think it could go to vote? What are your Democrat colleagues? And again, we'll talk about how much more of a disadvantage it is now for Republicans in the Assembly. But what are you hearing from your colleagues in the Assembly and even the state Senate about the possibility of your bill passing? Because again, if you're interested, you said it perfectly. If you're interested about affordability, and remember, everything's on the table, right? We heard that during the debate. You would think that you want to lower the sales tax. Well, what are you hearing from your colleagues in Trenton?
Well, I mean, I think if it were put up for a vote, there'd be people on the Democratic side who would vote for it. I don't think it's going to be put up. And I think behind the scenes, and we've been dealing with this for the last several weeks, the behind the scenes, we believe the Sherrill people have been advocating for a sales tax increase because collections into the state treasury are down, and she doesn't want to be stuck with a big deficit upon becoming governor. So yeah, she wants to put it on Murphy and the state Democrats in the legislature. We should be talking about an increase, and in fact, she flip-flopped all over the place on the issue during the campaign, and then ultimately came out and said she would not support an increase. And as soon as she won that election, we heard the chirping in Trenton that perhaps it was going to get ramrodded through during lame duck. We have one more lame duck session on Monday, January 12th, and we'll see what happens that day. Her term starts on the passing of the baton, so to speak, is the next day because we get sworn into our new terms in the state legislature on Tuesday, January 13th. And a new legislature begins, and she'll get inaugurated on January 20th. So January 12th will tell the tale whether this sales tax increase is going to get, jammed through at the very end. She will never say she's for it, but our sources show that behind the scenes, they've been talking about it.
I mean, again, it's another reminder about how dangerous lame duck sessions can be and how things can get rammed through. We see it during budget season, right? We see it, with the amount of pork that gets put in last minute into the budget. I mean, the budget looks bigger than Chris Christie, for God's sakes. I mean, but regardless, and folks, again, if you just joined us live right now, it is 6:45 on the East Coast. My guest tonight is the distinguished Assemblyman from the 40th Legislative District, the great Christopher DePhillips, joins us live. Folks, again, drop a comment or a question there in the comment section. Love to hear from our fans here on the show. Folks, if you're not familiar with the 40th Legislative District, and the Assemblyman will correct me in case I get it wrong, it covers multiple municipalities in different counties, which include Bergen County, Franklin Lakes, Ridgewood, and Wyckoff, and in Essex County, Caldwell, Cedar Grove, Essex Fells, Fairfield, North Caldwell, Verona, and West Caldwell, and in Passaic County, the municipalities of Little Falls, Hawthorne, Totowa, Wayne, and Woodland Park. Did I miss anything?
You nailed it.
Okay,
nailed
great.
it.
Okay,
Yeah.
so again, and we'll get back to sort of the election and then sort of what to look forward to here. But a very diverse county, though, Assemblyman, along socioeconomic lines, obviously, between Bergen, Passaic, and certainly Essex County. With your reelection along with Al Barlas, tell us about how it was for you in the remaining weeks. Again, you were hoping that Jack's coattails were going to be even better. Obviously, they were not. But for you and Al Barlas, though, I mean, you won pretty decisively. What was the message, again, despite the fact that, Sherrill and Democrats in those counties, obviously, and they're trying to make some inroads in different counties and everything else. But what was the overwhelming message for you and Mr. Barlas when it came to your reelection and the margins that you got?
Yeah, our margins were strong. I think our message resonated with obviously Republicans, but independents in our district. There's a lot of undeclareds in our district and in all the legislative districts, as well as conservative Democrats. We have a number of majority Democrat towns in the 40th, and we have very good support there because they tend to be more conservative Democrats, common sense Democrats who voted for Trump, many of whom voted for Trump in 2024. So the district is kind of purpley, and like you said, is very, it's not uniform, right? It's multicultural, economic diversity across the district. There's affluent towns, middle-class towns, working-class towns, right? But they seem to resonate. Those voters tend to resonate in our district around a common sense message, common sense conservatism, limited government, lower costs, lower taxes. And that's what I've been preaching for the 8 years I've been in the legislature.
Now, moving forward, it's 2026. Obviously, you have to kind of, as they say, pull up our pants here, roll up our sleeves, and just get to work. Obviously, as we are live here, folks, tonight, the New Jersey Republican Party is convening with county committee people from all 21 counties. Certainly, we have good candidates out there. Tonight, we'll find out who the next chairman or chairwoman will be in New Jersey representing the Republican Party. Listen, Assemblyman, I got to tell you, I mean, whoever it is, he or she's got to get to work tomorrow morning right away. You have a primary race, obviously, in some county commissioner races. Certainly, when it comes to the congressional districts, it'd be nice to see some competitive races where, Democrats on a national level bitch and moan about redistricting, but my God, here in New Jersey, where, yes, I get Democrats have a registration advantage. It's almost like 60-40 or something like that, in terms of turnout. To only have 3 congressional districts out of 12, I mean, just reminds you about gerrymandering is very real. But having said that, that's not going to change anytime soon, unfortunately. But it doesn't mean that Republicans can't run good candidates coming up in these congressional districts, especially where, you have some retirements from Coleman. Thank the Lord. Good riddance to her. Obviously, Mikey Sherrill stepping down from her House seat to obviously become the next governor. Republicans have a chance maybe to sneak a win here and obviously still keep their seats that they have with Representative Tom Kean and certainly with Representative Smith and also the, representative down, all the way down in South Jersey. I mean, I would say that someone like Joe Hathaway, who, by the way, folks, as a reminder, will be on the show coming up in early February, so you want to mark that on your calendars. Joe Hathaway seems to be the only Republican running in CD 11 in a district where it looks almost like an over-the-top battle royal back in the day with like 12, 13 people running in that primary, just for a special election alone. We'll see if that translates into a primary in June. But, I think Republicans got to get to work right away, Assemblyman.
Yeah, I mean, we had the affordability message all along. The Democrats basically co-opted our affordability message, stole it, took it away from us, and without a lot of detail around it, like Jack Ciattarelli had, they just kind of put buzzwords out there. We're for lowering costs, we're for affordability now. And that resonated, right? And the Democrats said, oh, finally, we got someone talking about affordability on our side. We are the original affordability legislators, right? So we need to continue to preach this message, common sense conservatism, lowering costs, lowering taxes. That was our message. So whoever the state party chair is, these congressional candidates you're talking about, they have to preach this message that we are actually devoted to real policies that will reduce your taxes across the board, whether it's sales tax, corporate business tax, school taxes, New Jersey transit fares, fares in New Jersey Turnpike, Garden State Parkway. Those are our policies, right? That should resonate with voters across the state. And we need to do more to reach voters in the middle, those undeclareds, those conservative Democrats. That's what Al Barlas and I have done in our district. It can be done. And we, like I said, we have a pretty purple district in District 40, and yet we can still pull in those voters. And we're not abdicating our principles. We're still conservatives, but Democrats can align with that. Undeclareds have to align with that. But you have to find a way to speak to voters on the other side to get them oriented towards your way of thinking. And that is the challenge for our party statewide. That's the challenge for whoever's going to be the state party chair. That's Joe Hathaway's challenge. And Joe is a great candidate.
Yes, yeah.
I think he would be a fantastic congressman. He has conservative values, but he also knows how to reach people and knows how to talk to people. You have to find a way to connect with people who are not in your party or who are undeclared and say, come with me. I'm going to give you the relief you want.
Speaking about talking to candidates and talking to voters, obviously, as we just mentioned this evening, the NJGOP will select a new chair. Certainly interesting candidates tonight. Assemblyman Christine Hanlon out of Monmouth County, Michael Archon, one of the co-founders and publishers of Wake Up NJ, a great, I think, advocacy organization online, obviously, for fiscal responsibility in New Jersey. Former Bogota Mayor Steve Lonigan, and also my boss here at Jersey First, Rosemary Becky. Not going to put you on the spot per se, but share with us what you think of this crowd of candidates here that are convening tonight, and committee people will have to make a decision as to who's going to lead the Republican Party here in New Jersey.
So Steve Lonigan is technically, he is in fact my constituent. He lives in the 40th district now. He lives in Wyckoff.
Okay.
So I've known him for many years. I've known Rosemary for many years, and I know Christine Hanlon, and actually spoke to her a few weeks ago at an event, at Joe Hathaway's event, actually. So I think they're all very competent. Rosemary, I've known for many years. I think she's a fighter. And a lot of people want to have a fighter, right? As state party chair, leading the party statewide, being there for county candidates, local candidates, in addition, obviously, to the state candidates. So my understanding is it's pretty tight. It's pretty close between Rosemary and Christine. And like you said, they have big responsibility. Whoever's going to win has a big responsibility on his or her shoulders to lead the party in a very difficult time, right? We're coming out of the 25 election cycle, which was, like I said, devastating, right? And we have to pick up the pieces, and we got to get to work. And then we have congressional midterms coming up. And right now, things are not looking particularly positive based upon the polling I've seen. Things have to turn around. I think the president is doing a very strong job on a number of issues.
Yes.
International issues. Look what he's done at the border. The border's been shut down. We don't have illegal immigration. There are warning signs for the president because people want to see him give as much focus and energy to domestic economic issues as he has been in recent months to Venezuela, Ukraine, Israel, Gaza. And I think that is going to be a challenge, right?
But Assemblyman, and I'll let you finish. I'm sorry, but yeah. And you're right about that, because it's also about messaging, and I think the president's good about getting his message out. I think it's going to be as incumbent to House candidates and Senate candidates accordingly, because right now, as we stand, and again, I call balls and strikes fairly on this show, better than anybody, I think, in independent media here in New Jersey. Interest rates are down. Okay, that's a fact. Now, if you're looking to buy a home, interest rates are down. They're a lot better than they were in the last 4 or 5 years. Okay, domestic drilling has improved. Okay, so if you remember, and again, and I know this because I would cut promos on the Parkway, Assemblyman, going down to the League of Municipalities during the Biden administration, and I would see gas $4, $4.50, $4.50, in some places $4.75. Okay, now, because of the gas tax, unfortunately. And here's the ironic thing, and I have this argument all the time online with my Democrat friends or progressive friends that always want to challenge what I'm saying on the show. It's like, wait a second. So, and again, to be fair, the gas tax started under Chris Christie and that legislature, fine. But you could educate me on this. The explicit intent of the gas tax is to go and fund the Transportation Trust Fund. Now, that's also partly responsible about fixing our roads. Well, folks, again, AAA, a nonpartisan, organization, ranks roads in the country, and to no one's surprise, New Jersey is still, wait for it, in the bottom. I'll say it again, the bottom third of road quality in the country. So, where the gas tax went up again, it's going into the TTF. What's going on? So the messaging has to be there. Gas is down. Okay, again. We saw what happened under the Biden administration. As soon as President Trump took office, a year ago, really in January, you saw pipelines opening. You've seen the gas tax. You've seen production go up, and the importation going down. You've also seen grocery bills also go down. Okay, now, listen, again, unless you're shopping at Trader Joe's or Whole Foods, I don't know what to tell you. I know where I shop. I've seen a drop in prices. Okay, we've also seen to some extent other economic barometers that are favorable to the president. So at the end of the day, I think it's about messaging and saying, listen, I get that the Democrats want to peddle this bullshit and fearmonger, but at the end of the day, it's like the math isn't mathing for Democrats if they're going to try to continue with this hysteria. I don't know if you keep going to the same playbook. It worked okay to some extent in 2025, where a blue state stayed blue. Ooh, oh my God. I'm like, whoa, let's give that bonus to all those Democrat operatives that kind of did the bare minimum here. But in 2026, though, Assemblyman, there's a lot of economic barometers that favor Republicans. I just think it's about, to your point, about messaging.
I do. I think it's about messaging, and they want to see the president talking day in and day out about the issues, whether it's taxes or costs. I agree with you. There's a record there that is good, that is solid. And look at the stock market too. You didn't mention the stock market. Stock market has just been through the roof over the last year, in spite of concerns about his tariff policy. So I think people want to see a continuing, a repetitive commitment to lowering costs, and not just grocery bills, but taxes and government spending. And we see that at the state level as well, that, yeah, sure, maybe some prices have come down, but people in New Jersey see a lot of waste right in front of them, right? And they see a lot of automatic increases, automatic gas tax increases, automatic fare increases on New Jersey Transit. The market may be very strong, and maybe certain grocery prices have come down, but overall state spending and overall costs related to what's going on in the state government gives people a lot of pause and a lot of concern, and it's real money right out of their pockets.
Absolutely. Now, speaking of state spending, obviously, once Cheryl takes office on the 20th, just within a few weeks after that, Assemblyman, she'll have to submit a new budget to the legislature. And obviously, you guys already be in session. I mean, where do I even start here with the next budget? Obviously, there's no federal COVID money. Certainly, the risk or the fear of raising the sales tax. To your point about, hey, the state needs revenue. Maybe this is a way to do it. But at the end of the day, what's even more disappointing about last November, though, Assemblyman, is it's not just about a decisive Democrat win at the ballot box, but you saw that in all 80 state assembly seats where Republicans were already, it was 52-28 Democrat majority going into November. Now it's even bigger, almost to a point where it's almost like a veto proof or almost a rubber stamp for Cheryl in the assembly. And obviously the state Senate isn't up until 27. But I mean, it just seems like, I feel for you and Assemblyman Barlas and other assembly people that want to, advocate for fiscal responsibility and sanity. I mean, how much more difficult is that going to be now, especially with a budget that, listen, I'm terrified about what that budget's going to look like. I mean, it doubled in the 8 years since Chris Christie throughout the Murphy years. I cringe at what it could look like coming up now in 2026.
Yeah, I mean, our numbers shrunk, right? So we had 28 Republicans, now we have 23. I'm the conference leader in the Republican caucus in the Assembly. All the data, all the polling, all the numbers show we were probably going to pick up 5, if not more seats, and go in the other direction. So our conference shrunk, and it's getting lonely in the caucus. It's 57 Democrats now to 23 Republicans. And we have great leaders in our caucus, and we've got great messaging, and we have great legislation. But it's an uphill battle, right? So 60 is the number that lets them do whatever they want, whenever they want. On the budget, I mean, when I first was elected, the state budget was $34 billion. In the last budget, it was around $60 billion. There's absolutely no policy reason why Governor-elect Cheryl should come in and increase that even more. If anything, there's plenty to cut. And if she wants to not curry favor with Republicans or undeclareds, but something impressive that she could do is start, cutting wasteful spending, paring it back. She could take a 5% across the board cut in the state budget and no one would even notice. So, but that is 5% of $60 billion is a lot of money. If I were in her shoes, I would do that.
I agree with you. And folks, again, if you're just joining us live right now, it's 7:00 here on the East Coast. My guest tonight is the Honorable Assemblyman from the 40th Legislative District here in the great state of New Jersey, Christopher DePhillips, here live on Real Talk. And, Assemblyman, I just think about, budget season starts in February when the governor introduces a budget. But it just always seems, and again, folks, if you're not familiar with the constitutionality of it, I'm not an attorney, but I know enough about New Jersey law that under the state constitution, a budget has to be ratified by both chambers and signed by the governor no later than 11:59 p.m. on June 30th. If it's not, at 12:01 a.m. on July 1st, there is a state shutdown. That's happened a couple of times in my adult life and in recent decades. I know under Governor John Corzine in 06, and in 2017 under Governor Chris Christie. It seems like in recent years, though, Assemblyman, it's been right down to the wire, where Phil Murphy and the Senate president, whether it was Sweeney or Scutari, and then Coughlin as the Assembly Speaker, have gone right down to the wire. But it just seems like it's so unavoidable with these projects that, I mean, it looks like the budget's getting fatter than some of the Victoria's Secret models we used to see during like the woke era of Victoria's Secret. My goodness, I mean, is there anything that Republicans can do in Trenton to stop this pork, or is it just sort of a fruitless endeavor, man?
Yeah, the Democrats play run out the clock, right? So they don't really get down to brass tacks on the budget until literally 48 hours before the deadline. So it's very frustrating, and so that just engenders this environment where you can just ram things through because the clock is running out, right? So you got to pass it, right? Unless you're going to want to shut down the entire state government. And shutdowns, we've learned, don't really work well with voters, and voters do not like shutdowns. So it has to pass. This past cycle in 2025, it passed on June 30th. I was there on June 30th instead of, on vacation with my family, because we assumed that it was going to pass before that. Every indication was it would. It's a very frustrating process. If we were in charge, we would have controls built in, legislative controls, that certain things would have to happen through committee by a date certain, or by at least, the latest June 15th. Give people time to digest it, look at it, maybe even make some amendments and changes, and pass it on time. For whatever reason, that legislative discipline is not there on the Democratic side, and it just wreaks havoc because the Christmas tree items get added, and you do have a Christmas tree right behind you. They get added at the last minute. And if you added up in the last budget what those Christmas tree items amounted to, it was something like $750 million. So it's just outrageous. And some of the projects are just laughable.
No, listen, I'm with you. And what's interesting too, when you mentioned about the way the budget is constrained, and I thought of you specifically at the league a couple months ago, where I ran into Assembly Speaker Coughlin, and it's always interesting. I run into him at one of the Latinos on the Rise mixers at the Tropicana Hotel, and he saw me, and sometimes he runs into so many people I don't expect him to remember. But as someone, it was really funny. I see him. I'm like, Mr. Speaker, hi. I'm not sure. It's I'm for and I didn't. He goes, Fernando, I know who you are, and I'm like, oh damn, wow, okay. And I'm thinking, I mean, I don't go after Coughlin that much on this show, but I said, Mr. Speaker, hi, good to see you. Well, it's nice of you to remember me. But so listen, what about property tax relief in 2026? Like, come on, again, I mean, what's going on? You know what his answer was? I almost wanted to just throw my drink at him. He was like, he's like, wait a minute, where do you live? And I'm like, I live in Hudson County. Oh, what town? Oh, Union City. I'm like, oh, did you get an anchor check? And I'm like, really? That's your answer? Like that's exactly what I said to him. I had a drink in my hand. I wasn't drunk. I wasn't like, aggressive. I was just like, really? That's your answer? Oh, did you get an anchor check? I'm like, yeah. I was like, and by the way, that wasn't enough. And he just stood by and goes, oh, well, just call my office. We'll make some time, and I'm happy to come on your show. I mean, Chris, it took every bit of my self-control to not scream at this guy and be like, really? That's your answer? Oh, did you get an anchor check?
Yeah, that can't be the overall policy on cutting costs and bringing relief to the people of New Jersey. By the way, I like the speaker very much. He's a very gracious person.
No, he's a nice guy. I'll
He's
give
very
him that.
kind.
He's
He's very generous with his time with people, and he's been very fair to me. But we part company on the policy, on the budgetary policy, because there are zero controls, and and to a certain extent, you can blame it on the governor for the last 8 years. But at the end of the day, the legislature passes the budget. They don't have to accept what the governor is selling, and it does originate in our House, the budget in the state assembly. So we take a crack at it first. And there's lots of ways to push back on an administration's budget proposal. and cut it back, pare it back, and bring relief beyond an anchor check to the people of New Jersey.
I mean, it's really frustrating where, again, we have the highest property taxes in the country. And again, not to make this a civics lesson here, but there's certainly a big portion of property taxes goes to fund our school districts, Assemblyman, and certainly I'm sure you've seen it where State Senator Vin Gopal down in Monmouth County seems to be on a collision course with the teachers union here in New Jersey with the NGEA and the AFT, where he's looking to consolidate school districts. I mean, Florida's a bigger state than ours, and we don't even have, and they don't even have what we have. We have 600 school districts in New Jersey. I think Florida has something like maybe 100, I think at most. Again, State Senator Gopal is getting a lot of brushback. I know he introduced that bill. Not sure if it's even going to see a committee, because I'm fairly certain the NGEA and teachers and activist groups are going to be livid. What are your thoughts when you read that? I know I saw it in the New Jersey Globe and other news sites. What were your thoughts when you saw State Senator Gopal attempting to be fiscally responsible?
I didn't put a lot of credibility in it. I think he's just floating something as far as I could tell. Trial balloon. I didn't think more of it than that, to be honest. There's lots of ways, and schools is just one issue. There are lots of ways to bring fiscal sanity to New Jersey. And we keep just beating the same drum, right? And voters, for whatever reason, in our state, and I'm granted, it is a blue state, like you said, and there's 800,000 more Democrats, but they keep voting for the same people who are bringing this fiscal irresponsibility to the state, right? And to their own homes. So that is very confounding. Why voters continue to return people who have ballooned a state budget from 36 billion to 60 billion in 7-8 years. That's like a 70% increase.
Yeah.
Right. No New Jersey family has increased their own family budget by 70%, willy-nilly, like the way the state has been doing it, right? If you don't have the money, the state's ready to go off the fiscal cliff. So the state doesn't have the money, but it keeps spending more money and it keeps collecting more money than it's spending. And it's not giving any surplus. To the extent there's a surplus, not giving it back to the taxpayers.
You're absolutely right. And again, this was the consistent argument I was having last summer, going into the fall, with guests on my show, when I went to political events, a lot of my progressive friends, Democrat friends. And I'm like, listen, you can't blame the president about your property taxes. You can't blame the president about the gas tax. You can't blame the president about, you want to go to AC. Well, guess what? The toll on the expressway went up again. The toll on the parkway and the turnpike went up again. So if you want to go up and down the state, great. Like, I know you want to just demonize Donald Trump and Republicans in Washington for everything, but you can't. And it just, to your point, it just leads me back to like how infuriating it is with the amount of low information voters, and then the audacity to get on TV. And some people eat it up like Thanksgiving turkey. It just makes me think, I'm like, God, like, how dumb must you be? And I don't like to sort of resort to personal insults to people, but I'm like, how gullible and dumb must you be that you're swallowing this again? And going into 2026, where again, obviously you have the midterms this year, we'll see what happens. But it just, to your point, and I just raised it before, there's a lot of economic factors that favor Republicans, that favor conservatives. Now, again, it's going to come down to messaging. And certainly it's a federal election season to some extent. Obviously, there's local county committee races, county commissioner races, but there's congressional races this year. Obviously, Senate seats. Who in their right mind thinks that Spartacus, that Cory Booker, who's not fooling anybody marrying a girl, but that's another conversation, is somehow a good United States senator? I mean, it boggles my mind where, again, we'll see what the results are tonight, though, Assemblyman, about the next, state chair, but they got a lot of work to do here. I mean, it's just about, and, it also gets me, and I really want to get your thoughts on this because I know you're one of the more active and vocal Republicans. Just again, as I mentioned, when I had David Wasson on my show, and then I also had Brent Johnson from NJ Advanced Media about the week after, there were some Republicans that are very giddy and happy to kind of be like, well, I told you so, like State Senator John Bramnick, who may face a primary challenger in 27. radio personality Bill Spadea, and other Republicans that were like, well, a Republican needs to be moderate to win in New Jersey, maybe more like Chris Christie. Well, maybe 2009 Chris Christie, not like what we know about Chris Christie now. But I mean, is that a message you think that's going to be necessary, though, Assemblyman, when it comes to maybe having to bring a moderate Republican?
So I'm not big on labels. So I'm not, I don't like to be labeled myself. I attack issues one at a time. So there may be some votes where I'm looking like I'm, arch conservative, and other votes where it looks like I'm more centrist or moderate or whatever you want to call it. And I think our party can't descend into that kind of name calling. We've got to be a big tent. We've got to welcome lots of different groups into our party, and we have to speak for groups other than the group that any one of us might be in, right? So we have to show the state, we have to show Democrats, undeclareds, and of course Republicans, that our policies that we speak for and that we're crafting will bring relief to the average New Jerseyan, right? Chris Christie, I think, when he was governor, did a good job of speaking common sense to Republicans, undeclareds, and Democrats. And to be successful in the state, whether we like it or not, we've got to work across the aisle with Democrats, and we have to show Democrats in this state, come over to our side. We can bring you economic relief, fiscal sanity, but still, we shouldn't have to abdicate our responsibilities. Our messaging has to be such that it resonates with people, not just in our party. The numbers don't bear it out. Like, we can't just win by having our people vote for us. And I think Jack Ciattarelli won the race with people, Democrats included, undeclareds included, who were focused on state issues.
Yeah.
He was running on state issue platform.
Yeah.
He won that election, but Mikey Sherrill won a different election. They were in alternative universes.
Yeah.
She won the election where people were concerned about federal issues, and she seized on that. And that's how she won. So I guess the message for the new state party chair is we got to win on both grounds. We have to win on the state issues, and we have to win on the federal issues. And that's the challenge for us.
Absolutely. Folks, it's right now looking at 7:15 here on the East Coast. We're about to wrap up here with the distinguished state assemblyman in the 40th legislative district here in New Jersey, my good friend Christopher DePhillips here on Real Talk. Real quick lightning round here, Assemblyman. Obviously, maybe someone's seeing you for the very first time on this show. They have not heard of you. And guess what? Let's get to know. We've talked to Christopher DePhillips, the Assemblyman, the elected official, obviously the attorney. Let's talk about Christopher DePhillips, the guy. Quick lightning round here, and get to know you here on.
This part scares me.
Okay, well, no, I know we're big sports fans, you and I to some extent. Baseball fan, baseball team, Mets. Okay. As you know, I'm a Yankee fan. Really bad offseason for both of us. I don't even know where to begin. I think George Steinbrenner somewhere is rolling around in his grave thinking like, wait a second, my son is pinching pennies here. We're putting money here in the Bronx, and we're not signing people. We're letting free agents go here and there. Kind of drives me crazy. But for you, I mean, it seems like Uncle Stevie's more concerned with the Hard Rock Casino that's coming to Queens in 2030 than bolstering the Mets roster. How
we got to be proud. We got to be proud about something. So
yeah, how infuriating has that been for you as a Met, especially with Pete Alonso? I mean, homegrown guy leaving down south to Baltimore. How are you feeling as a Met fan today?
Listen, if you're a Mets fan, you just turn the page. You look forward to the future, whatever it may bring, because you can't look back.
Got you. NFL team.
Giants.
All right.
Terrible. 4-13.
Yeah, listen, I was there yesterday.
They won the last two.
Yeah, listen, I was there yesterday in the freezing cold. Sooner or later. Yep, I was there. Sooner or later, the Giants. Listen, the Giants have not beaten the Cowboys since the Obama administration. So sooner or later, that streak had to end. I'm like, all right, fine. It is what it is. It seems like the Giants are going to be searching for a new head coach. Seems like Jackson Dart is going to be that franchise quarterback. Not again, I'm a little biased here. The Heisman Trophy winner, Fernando Mendoza. I'm a little biased here because of the guy, obviously. Of
course.
But it seems like Jackson Dart's going to be the answer for Big Blue here. Where do you see, obviously his improvement, where he needs to get better at? as well as like, is there a head coach that you would like to see head the Giants up?
I don't know. I don't want to even guess. There will be change for sure. I mean, there's a lot of talented people out there. It comes down to money, as you know, right? And the opportunity, and whether the new coach thinks they can rebuild with what they have and what they need to the talent acquisition. So I can't even begin to guess who it would be.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, I listen to talk radio every day, and it seems like a lot of Giant fans that call into sports talk are not happy that General Manager Joe Shane is returning. It seems like a lot of the problem is
Yeah.
the construction of the roster, and that falls on Joe Shane.
Right.
So
That's a big part of the challenge for sure.
listen, same thing over here. I mean, Jerry Jones is the president, the CEO, the GM. It drives me crazy. Where listen, he drafts well, but doesn't spend money during free agency, so it's kind of frustrating.
Yeah. Yeah.
NBA team, if any, Assemblyman.
I grew up a Knicks fan. I haven't been following them that closely, just because of time constraints.
Sure.
But yeah,
Hockey.
So I really like the Rangers, but I'm a Jersey guy, so I do root for the Devils.
Okay.
Too.
Do you root for your alma mater in college basketball by any chance? I'm curious which one that is.
Georgetown is my alma mater.
Okay.
They've been terrible the last several years. I am also the parent of a Providence College alum.
Okay.
And so they've been strong the last several years. So I root for Providence, and my youngest is going to Providence next fall.
Okay.
So Georgetown. Well, I was at Georgetown University when they won the national championship in 1984.
That's amazing.
And I was there as a sophomore in 1985 when they lost to Villanova by 2 points, 66-64. I remember it very painfully. So college basketball near and dear to my heart. Georgetown has been very disappointing the last 5+ years. I'm going to a game in March in DC where Georgetown is playing Providence.
Oh my goodness.
So as an alum, I'll be rooting for Georgetown, but as a parent, I wouldn't mind if
my
Providence
goodness.
wins. And by the way, Chris Christie is a Providence dad as well. His son Patrick graduated from Providence, and we would see each other at games.
Wow, that's interesting. Well, listen, I'm sure you'll enjoy that game down in DC in March. Obviously, a lot of diversity in your district. Hate to put you on the spot about this one, but favorite restaurant in LD40?
Well, I have to be loyal to Wyckoff, where I live. So if you haven't been to Aldo's, you have to come up.
Okay.
And so we can meet there for a drink or have dinner one night, and I'll show you all the folks. There's also the Brick House in Wyckoff, which is very popular and well known, not just in Wyckoff, but outside. If Al Barlis were on this show, he'd be talking about all the great restaurants in Cedar Grove. So his spouse and my spouse, the four of us, as well as Senator Corrado and her husband, we have dinner together. We actually like each other as legislative colleagues, which hasn't always happened in New Jersey, and our spouses all get along great. And we try to have dinner at different places around the district. A couple times ago, we had dinner in Wayne at a great steakhouse. Actually, it was Wayne twice. We had dinner in Wayne twice, and then we had dinner in Cedar Grove right after the election, after our election victory to celebrate. So there's some great restaurants in District 40. But of course, very good restaurants being in Hudson County. And by the way, one thing I don't know if you actually know is that I am the son of a Union City guy. I mean, my
resident.
dad.
Okay, that's right. That's right. You mentioned that.
My dad grew up in good part of his younger years in Union City on 8th Street.
Okay.
312 8th Street.
Okay.
And my son lives in Hoboken, so I'm constantly telling him, get up to Union City. There's some decent restaurants there. So
there certainly are a lot of good Cuban restaurants and good Turkish restaurants for sure. Park Avenue.
Jose Arango's always pushing the restaurants in Union City.
Absolutely. Assemblyman, again, before I let you go, you're always a treat to have on. You always provide me a wealth of information here on the program. And again, the reason I enjoy our conversations is as someone who's as vocal about fiscal responsibility in New Jersey, I always admire your fortitude and really about being that voice in Trenton. And keep up the good work. You're doing God's work there in Trenton. And certainly I appreciate your time here on the show, your belief in my brand of independent journalism.
100%. You're
And
doing
I
great. Your numbers are looking great. Your views are looking great. I've
Thank you.
enjoyed watching the progress of you and your show, and good things are ahead for you.
I appreciate that. Listen, I'll give you the last word here as we close out tonight on Monday night.
Yeah. So the election cycle, like I said, was very devastating, right? I mean, and the question becomes, can we actually win statewide as a party? So I've been telling colleagues of mine or others who, ready to throw in the towel, can't do it, right? We've got to use our voice. It's an honor to be in the legislature. We got to speak up for our values. Yeah, sure. You see that fireplace. Sometimes it's like you're hitting your head against a brick wall when you're down in Trenton. But I have to be the voice for the people in my district. I'll continue to do it. And hopefully good times will be coming in the future with new leadership at the state level, state chair level. And we just have to keep being that's what democracy is, being the voice for the people who sent you there.
Absolutely. Again, folks, if you don't follow him on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook, check out Assemblyman Christopher DePhillips on all the social media platforms and make sure you keep in contact with him for all of your needs in the 40th Legislative District. He's my guest tonight, folks. State Assemblyman Christopher DePhillips. Assemblyman, thank you so much for coming out. Happy New Year.
Same to you.
We'll talk to you again soon here on
Stay in touch. Yeah, stay in touch.
We will. Take care.
All right. Okay. Bye-bye.
Folks, good stuff there with State Assemblyman Christopher DePhillips here on the program as we're approaching 7:30 here on the East Coast. Folks, if you're just joining us live right now, 5 seconds. Like, comment, and share tonight's episode here. So put it on your email list, on your socials. We appreciate you supporting Real Talk. Again, the leader in fearless independent media here in New Jersey. It's always courtesy of Jersey First TV. Folks, again, I can't say enough how grateful I am to all of you that tune in every single Monday. And since we started, again, on June 1st in 2020, in the middle of the pandemic, you've been loyal. And certainly I want to reward you for your faith in my brand of media. And so I'll continue working hard for you every single week. Again, folks, unlike other journalists that are still on vacation, no, folks, I'm working. Okay? Can't say the same for others. But we're working on this show each and every week on the Jersey First Television Network. Folks, I can't say enough, really. Again, if you haven't done so already, like, comment, and share. It goes a long way in helping the show grow here on Jersey First TV. Well, folks, you know what time it is. It's time for final thoughts. And folks, I'll mention it during a special comment, but again, one of the reasons that Real Talk did so well in 2025 was, of course, exposing bad journalism in New Jersey. And there was no shortage of it. There's no shortage of bad actors in New Jersey in general, whether it's in higher education, whether it's elected officials, whether it's government employees, whether it's activists, you name it, folks, advocacy, you name it. There's no shortage of horrible actors in New Jersey. But last year, again, I was the beneficiary of some bad journalism here. And again, being able to point it out on a consistent basis was always enjoyable. Now, thankfully, we got to see Ron Zenlinger be shown the door. It was unfortunate about the extinction of the Jersey Journal, certainly. I was not disappointed to see Uncle David Cruz, be shown the door because he's an asshole, that plain and simple. Okay, this lazy mother effer, este huevón que no sirve para nada. That's true. And I'm sure Uncle Dave, since he doesn't know a lick of Spanish, I'm sure Uncle Dave will need Google Translate to understand what I just said. But folks, what gave me specific joy was seeing the Star Ledger show Tom Moran the door in 2025. Now, yes, NJ.com, I guess, has their little charity cases and everything, where they still publish a column from Tom Moran occasionally on their opinion page. And Tom Moran, to no one's surprise, is one of the most dishonest and disingenuous journalists that continues to exist in the New Jersey media landscape. Right? And his latest column, or if you want to call it that, just reminds you what a classless asshole Tom Moran is. Now, I get it. you need something to do with all your free time, Tom. And I get it that when you're like 94 years old, like Tom Moran is, I mean, you want to be productive with what the remaining days you have on this earth. Okay. And you don't want to just be sitting around scratching your ass like other people do. But Tom Moran's latest column, and again, leave it to NJ.com to publish garbage. And folks, you can read it there. Folks, this is the funniest thing about NJ.com. Just read the top banner there. Impactful journalism that drives change. Eso es mierda. That's bullshit. There's no impactful journalism. Folks, impactful journalism and NJ.com, they don't go together. Okay? They just don't go together. They don't. It's like local activists in like Jersey, like for example, like Come Mierdas, like Alex Trillo and like, I don't know, being intellectually honest go together. They don't go together. All right. Or these, body positivity influencers in Jersey City. It's like saying, oh, yes, we're being body positive, but we're never going to pass up our 4 or 5 meals a day. I mean, folks, it just doesn't, the math isn't mathing, as they say. But here, Tom Moran, again, continues to show how classless he is. And check out this title, Elon Musk should rot in hell. Okay, now, here's the funny thing about Tom Moran. Okay. Tom Moran writes, again, for Advanced Local. I guess they work with NJ.com. Tom Moran says, I grew up Catholic and was taught that I should try to cultivate a kind heart. Coming from this asshole, I find that to be extremely disingenuous. But let's continue. To help build a world where all of God's creatures live in harmony, where suffering is met with compassion. But I can't pull it off when it comes to Elon Musk, the world's richest man. Gee, Tom Moran, an insufferable progressive hating rich people. Wow, color me surprised. In other breaking news, water wet. David Cruz doesn't do shit. Like, wow, breaking news. And perhaps it's most arrogant. I find myself hoping for the first time that there really is a place where unrepentant sinners burn in flames for all eternity, says one of the more garbage humans walking the earth, Tom Moran. But that's interesting about the hypocrisy. I'll work on it, but for now, allow me to vent. Really? Allow me to vent. That's all you do. Eso todo que haces te come mierda. Vent and write garbage columns. The idea you got paid for as long as you did, Tom. I mean, you want to talk about stealing money? Like, we see people stealing money in sports, right? Like pitchers and baseball, or some quarterbacks that steal money. Folks, you want to know who has stole money for decades? Tom Moran. Like, come mierda, he robado dinero. Like, he's still doing it. He's still stealing money and trying to fool you by pretending to be a journalist. But we all know that Tom Moran is nothing but a propagandist. That's a fact. That's not conjecture. That's not hearsay. That's not speculation. Folks, that's fact. Read his columns. You'll see it for yourself. Now, the New York Times just published the results of its deep dive investigation into Musk's awesome adventure in Washington, where he promised to apply his remarkable genius to the problem of government waste. It's a grand public service to nail down the details on this, but the conclusion was obvious from a mile away. Well, if the New York Times is writing about it, well, then of course, if the New York Times, another garbage publication, I mean, if they say that, it must be true, according to Tom Moran. All right. Here we go here. Yet Musk blundered his way into the center ring, waving his chainsaw in triumph, which was given to him coincidentally by the president of Argentina, the distinguished Javier Milei, as if the federal deficit was caused by the sheer stupidity of the status quo, as if he could solve the puzzle that had stumped them. He promised at first to save $2 trillion, then $1 trillion, then $150 billion. No, Tom, that's not true. I don't know where you got those numbers from, but that's not what was espoused. But again, Tom Moran being dishonest is, I mean, again, eso no nuevo. It's like asking Tom Moran to have, wait for it, that 4-syllable word, integrity. We know he doesn't have it. All right, here's a funny one. All right. Understand this is not an argument against efforts to root out government waste. Well, folks, if that's the case, Tom Moran has never been a champion of that. Never once did you ever see Tom Moran write columns when he was working for the Star Ledger to talk about how unaffordable New Jersey is becoming with the highest property taxes, or the fact that we waste so much money in New Jersey, whether it's funding illegals, whether it's giving money to illegals, whether it's giving money to these nonprofit organizations that cater to mentally ill people, trans people, right? I talk about it. I talk about rooting out government waste. You think Tom Moran? Now, Tom Moran's, wait a minute, pero un momentico. Tom Moran's 94, so literally, I'm sure Tom Moran maybe started working as a journalist maybe in his 20s. So for over 70 years, Tom Moran, as a journalist, wants us to believe that he was against government waste. I never read that in his columns, right? Okay. But as the professionals warned, spending is driven mostly by big programs like Social Security and Medicare, which have overwhelming public support. And also, folks, Medicaid, which we all know, here in New Jersey specifically, yes, while illegals don't get Medicaid directly from Washington, what happens is New Jersey gets Medicaid dollars from Washington and puts it into a fund which helps provide financial relief to illegals. So yes, Medicaid isn't sent to them directly, but illegals benefit from the Medicaid dollars coming from Washington. You think at any point in time, Tom Moran would ever talk about that and talk about that government waste? Of course not, right? But here's what's interesting, right? The sad part of the story is that Musk did real damage. He fired 7,000 workers at Social Security, causing delays and breakdowns. He fired 1,300 at the Centers for Disease Control, and he slashed spending on veterans, leading to delays in care. But the worst of it, here's where the funny outrage is from Tom Moran. When we have governors in Minnesota like Tim Walz, who thankfully isn't running for re-election, thanks to independent media exposing the bullshit over there in Minnesota, or other government waste like in California, here's Tom Moran clutching his pearls about the attack on USAID, the agency that provides food during famine, medicine to fight AIDS and malaria in Africa, and maternity care and clean water where it's needed. Really, folks? This is the selective outrage, and this is the pearl clutching that we've come to expect from Tom Moran. Here we go. All right. And for what? For minor savings that did nothing to stop the increase in federal spending so that an arrogant billionaire could preen in front of gullible crowds of MAGA supporters as a savior? Here's a good one. And here's a really funny line. I'll work on my own soul at a later date. No, Tom, there's no working on your soul. You're an awful human being. You're an awful human being who has espoused garbage opinions and has been toxic and has done a disservice to journalism. There is nothing redeeming, folks, about Tom Moran as a human being. There just isn't. So the idea that to work on your own soul, I don't know what you're working on. You don't have a soul, Tom. Right now, it burns me to think that Musk is living in luxury and that his fortune has grown by an estimated $250 billion since Trump took office. Not a bad return on a $291 million investment for the 2024 election. Oh, so billionaires weren't supporting Kamala Harris? Tom? Billionaires weren't supporting Joe Biden in 2020? Billionaires weren't supporting Hillary Clinton in 2016? Not a peep from Tom Moran. Again, that will require Tom to have what's called, it's a really interesting word, integrity. He doesn't have any. That's not hard to uncover. Here's a good one. But it's a pity about all the dead kids. And for that, I do hope the scariest nuns were right after all. Well, folks, again, the amount of pearl clutching that Tom Moran engages in shouldn't surprise anybody. Because we have known for the longest time that when we think about Tom Moran and his brain of journalism, folks, two words make it very simple when it comes to Tom Moran. Okay? 2 words give me the reminder about, hey, if I'm ever at a loss for words about how to describe Tom Moran, it's not complicated, folks. It's very simple. When I think of Tom Moran,
No. You're a loser. Clown show. Say it with me, Mike. Clown show. 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 It's a clown show.
I mean, folks, again, it is a clown show. That's what it is for Tom Moran. And you know what's interesting? I think about not just Tom Moran, but I think about people at NJ.com. Think about these people going to work in the new year and thinking that it's a good idea to publish a column from Este Come Mierda. Okay? From this useless 94-year-old waste of space in journalism. Folks, Tom Moran stopped being a journalist a long time ago. That's fact. Tom Moran has become nothing but a propagandist, and a really bad one. And it got me thinking, like, it's 2026. It's Monday. It's the first full week of the new year. People are getting back to work. And when I think about NJ.com, I think about people going back to work today and someone thinking, oh, yes, we should publish Tom Moran's columns. Yes, folks, think about what it must feel like to go to work at NJ.com. Think about what it must feel like walking into a building where you're looking at a computer and saying, oh, shit, Tom Moran submitted a column. Maybe we should publish it. Gee, is it going to make sense? Is it, how many more pearls is he clutching? How much more selective moral outrage is Tom Moran having? Folks, again, best way to describe Tom Moran, I said it in 2021, 2022, in 2023, in 2024, and in 2025 when the Star Ledger said, peace. In 2026, NJ.com still thinks it's a good idea to publish columns from Tom Moran. To remind us all, when it comes to his brand of journalism,
No. You're still a loser. Clown show. You're a Mets fan. Say it with me, Michael. Clown show. Clown show. Clown show. Clown show. Clown show. Clown.
I mean, folks, again, get come mierda Tom Moran is, folks. I'll tell you. I honestly, I mean, can you even defend this? Can you even try to attempt to defend this brand of garbage journalism? Folks, you think of clowns, it's easy to think of Tom Moran. And those are my final thoughts. Folks, before we call it a night here, a special comment to close out the show. You'll be happy to know that in 2025, once again, another successful year here on Jersey First TV. Over 865,000 views on the show, folks. A stark increase from 2024, where it was at 745,000 views. Folks, by the way, all organic, nothing boosted. Okay, I don't believe in boosters. Okay, I'm not even vaccinated for COVID. So much less do I even believe in boosters or flu shots or any of that bullshit. Okay? All organic. People tune in live, they watch the replays, they share it on their social media, and they make this show the success that it is. And I'm grateful for that. But again, I think all of you who tune in every Monday night, again, share the replays. But I especially have to thank these clowns behind me. The ones that make it all possible. These insufferable, useless humans, and folks in no particular order. Some of the worst actors in higher education, in media, in journalism, government work, elected officials, activism, advocacy, you name it, folks. As long as I have these clowns behind me, again, I don't got to worry about it. I don't got to worry about having material on this program. Whether it's Antoinette Miles from the New Jersey Working Families Party. Okay. With her constant virtue signaling. Okay. Or soy boy beta males like Joe Amaditis from the Center for Cooperative Media over there at Woke State University in Montclair. Or useless journalists like, wait a minute, it's 7:45. Oh, yeah. Alan Steinberg. Yeah, he's sleeping. right? Or other useless humans, like garbage humans, like Bob Medina and his useless wife, Patty Medina. Right? And I know Bob tunes in because I know Bob can't stand me. But it's way past his bedtime. I'm sure he has dinner at 4. I mean, listen, I get it. When you get to that age, and folks, we'll all get there. I'll get there too, God willing. But when you're 96 years old, like Bob Medina, I get it. You want to eat dinner early and go to bed early, so you don't watch the show live. But I know Bob tunes in the next day. Folks, you know how I feel about Tom Moran? Or useless, overpaid government employees like Maria Rodriguez-Gregg over there at Woke State University in Montclair, who continues to have garbage takes on social media. What else is new with Maria? I don't know what happened to her, but there are other useless government employees like Laura Bustamante. Now, I know she was working for Andy Kim last year before transitioning out to becoming the chief of staff for the new mayor in Jersey City, James Solomon. I wonder how she did during the government shutdown. Because if you weren't paying federal employees, like, how was Andy Kim managing to pay Laura Bustamante? Okay. Imagine what that grocery bill looks like in that house. Another insufferable virtue signaler. Speaking about useless journalists, obviously, folks, no surprise. Chucky, Charles Style, Matt Friedman, the resident pothead in New Jersey. And other useless activists like Amy Torres, Nettie Morsi, Hattie Rosenstein. Pretty useless women. Speaking of useless women, like Jay Lassiter. I mean, for a guy that's concerned about garden state equality and who should be running it, I mean, you have nothing to do it at home, Jay. I mean, all you do is smoke pot, and what else do you do? You're not working. It's not like you have any work ethic. I mean, maybe you should put your name in the ring there and maybe go try to be the executive director for garden state equality. Like, do something with your time besides, I don't know, smoke weed and, I don't know, smell like cat piss. I'm pretty sure that's what your house smells like with the amount of cats you have there. Probably the only pussy that could stand to be near you, but that's Jay Lassiter. Or useless public officials like Ravi Bala or Phil Cohen. Folks, again, I'm not afraid of too many things, but I can tell you a paralyzing fear probably would be being stuck in an elevator with Phil Cohen. I mean, I think I would pass out from oxygen deprivation with the size of that. Have you seen the size of that man's nose? You seen those nostrils? You can literally pass out from oxygen deprivation. And I'm sure I'll run into Phil Cohen at some political events this spring, right? I mean, I'll know he's there. I mean, his nose gets there before he does, but that's another conversation. There are other useless activists like Lauren Albrecht or Caleb Burrell or others. Useless journalists, like I mentioned, like Uncle Dave and Max Pizarro. Folks, as long as I have these people behind me, I know I'll always have good traffic and material to expose the bad actors in New Jersey. And more importantly, again, when I think about these people behind me, very much like Tom Moran, they make my job easy. You know why? It's very simple. All you got to do, when you think of these people, 2 words come to mind.
No. You're still a loser. Clown show. Say it with me, Michael. Clown show.
Oh, my God.
It's a clown show.
Oh, my God. Yes, folks. I mean, it's a clown show. And you think about these people behind me. I mean, they make my job so easy. Again, they make it easy. And just imagine these people walking in somewhere, folks. The best way to describe it. I mean, again, folks, without all of them, these numbers would not be possible. So on behalf of everybody here at Jersey First TV, the production staff, of course, yours truly, without you, this number behind me wouldn't be possible. So here's to even better traffic in 2026. And trust me, folks, I'm pretty sure everybody who made it possible in 2025, they'll give me plenty of material in 2026. And that's my special comment. Folks, once again, I want to thank you all for tuning in here tonight. I want to thank my guest this evening, the Honorable Assemblyman in the 40th Legislative District, the great Christopher DePhillips here tonight. Folks, if there's any part of the broadcast, don't sweat it. You can share the replay anytime you want. All of your social media platforms. Again, if you haven't done so already, make sure you like us on Facebook. Of course, follow us on Instagram and X. Don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube. And of course, whether you get your podcast on Spotify or SoundCloud, download Jersey First and tune into our great programming anywhere at any time from any PC, Mac, smartphone, or tablet. Of course, if you don't know already, folks, ladies and gentlemen, I'll continue leading the way here at Jersey First TV, educating and advocating for the great residents here in the state of New Jersey. Folks, it's always Real Talk via the Jersey First Television Network. And always remember, ladies and gentlemen, if it's unbiased, unfiltered, and unafraid, it's always Real Talk here on Jersey First TV. And that's right, ladies and gentlemen, I am the generational talent in Garden State Media and your leader for trustworthy journalism. That's right, folks. Fernando Uribe, happy Monday, happy New Year. Thank you so much for tuning in here and making this a part of your Monday night viewing. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, share the replays. It helps the show grow and really helps show your support for fearless independent media, which you can always rely on here with Real Talk via Jersey First TV. Folks, thanks so much for stopping by. Again, please party responsibly. Enjoy the NFL playoffs, the NBA's really heating up here, as well as the NHL. We'll see what happens with free agency in MLB. And of course, folks, it's WrestleMania season as the Royal Rumble is just a few weeks away. For all you WWE fans, trust me, WrestleMania season this year, not to be missed. But again, folks, we appreciate you again tuning in here. Thanks for stopping by. And always remember, stay classy, everyone.